frustrated, irritated by the one you thought you loved. It happens all the time. You lie when you look me in the eye. All I wanted was to hear the truth from you, but you never comply. Yet I wonder why I feel so violated, so frustrated, irritated by the one you thought you loved. Got no patience, it won't take it. Irritated by the one you thought you loved. I put all my trust in you, but you threw it all aside. Never have I felt so used by someone like you. How could I be so blind? Yet I wonder why I feel so violated, so frustrated, irritated by the one you thought you loved. Got no patience, it won't take it. Irritated by the one you thought you loved. And now you're gone, so glad you're out of my life. And now that you've gone away, I'm so glad you're out of my mind. That's why I felt violated, so frustrated, irritated by the one you thought you loved. Violated, so frustrated, irritated by the one you thought you loved. Got no patience, it won't take it. Irritated by the one you thought you Children behave, that's what they say when we're together. And watch how you play. They don't understand, and so we're running just as fast as we can, holding on to one another's hand, trying to get away into the night. And then you put your arms around me and we tumble to the ground. And then you say, I think we're alone now. There doesn't seem to be anyone around. I think we're alone now. The beating of our hearts is the only sound. Look at the way we gotta hide what we're doing. 'Cause what would they say if they ever knew? And so we're running just as fast as we can, holding on to one another's hand, trying to get away into the night. And then you put your arms around me and we tumble to the ground. And then you say, I think we're alone now. There doesn't seem to be anyone around. I think we're alone now. The beating of our hearts is the only sound. I think we're alone now. There doesn't seem to be anyone around. I think we're alone now. The beating of our hearts is the only sound. I think we're alone now. Doesn't seem to be anyone around. I think we're alone the only sound. I think we're alone now. Doesn't seem to be anyone around. I think we're alone now. The beating of our hearts is the only sound. I think we're alone now. There doesn't seem to be anyone around. I think we're alone now. The beating of our hearts is the only sound. I think we're alone now. Doesn't seem to be anyone around. I think we're alone now. The beating of our hearts is the only sound. I think we're alone now.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the latest episode of I'm No Joe, your home for all things combat sports, and the place where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bravo. The views and opinions presented on the I'm No Joe channel belong solely to the person expressing them, no one else. If we say it, that means we meant it. That being said, this show does contain adult themes, adult content, and general shit that you shouldn't be letting your kids intake. Be advised, viewer discretion is recommended. Proceed at your own risk. You've been warned. We could be. We might be. We are most definitely live. If it's Thursday, it's I'm No Joe. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the I'm No Joe podcast, the show where every armchair quarterback can feel like an Eddie Bravo. Today, as like most days, I have got one hell of a panel here lined up to talk some shit and get into some shenanigans, breaking down this weekend's upcoming UFC card and getting into all of the craziness that has happened since the last time we saw you fine folks. So before we get too far into it here, I do want to introduce you to the crew in case this is your first time catching the I'm No Joe podcast. Welcome. And to those of you who are returning, welcome back. We appreciate you guys just the same. First and foremost, we have got the skinny faced kid on the panel back here, the purple strap challenger. See, that's how you know it's live. The young gunner himself. RJ, how you doing, brother?
Fucking TJ. I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm doing pretty good. Decided to talk about some shit this week. Didn't last week. It's fucking work. But good to be back.
Glad to have you back, brother. We do have the freshest guest a man could ask for arriving late. He was mid-dinner when we kicked this bitch off, so he will be jumping in once he finishes with his food session. But across the octagon from myself here, as it were, more often than not, my Wednesday night homeboy, my combat shit-talking compatriot, the one and only Golf T Vapes himself. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good because I don't have to fondle my mic to turn it on, so I'm in good shape. That's never going to die, RJ. I'm sorry. Love you, man, but it's not going to die anytime soon.
All I'm saying is don't forget the shaft.
Dude, it's just convenience. Like last night when we were on the Cloudy Bunker, TJ or Fresh was talking and he was muted. I don't have to worry about that because the light's off. Hey, my mic's not on. Let me hit that real quick.
Only question I have for this evening is, other than the name of the show, which I greatly appreciate, because to be quite honest, I think this card, in my opinion, is set up better than last week's fucking goddamn paid per view. To be honest, I would rather pay for this card than that fucking last card. But, you know.
I completely agree. I actually was having that conversation earlier today with a buddy of mine that and to be fair, he's casual as shit, but even he was like, isn't this better than the one they wanted you to pay for last weekend? I was like, thank you for noticing.
And here's the thing. I'm going to say this as nicely as possible. I'm glad we have a card to talk about. Glad we have something to watch. However, a turd versus a shiny turd, they're still both turds.
That's right.
But
That's
this
right.
is definitely far past the aluminum Mike Perry turd, and something much better than that. Although in the grand scheme of things, everything's been a Mike Perry turd lately. So yeah.
Right. Absolutely. So you gotta. Although I will say this, the Instagram back and forth between Perry and Darren Till live, if you have not seen that, is pure fucking gold. Get some Kleenex ready because you're going to laugh until you're literally crying and your ribs will hurt by the time you have finished 5 minutes of that video. It's just so fluid and natural, the shit talking going back and forth between those two, and then weird awkward respect in the middle, and then right back to shit talking like they never miss a beat. It's awesome. It's a wonderful thing to behold.
They're playing one hell of a game here, and to be honest, I don't know why they haven't figured out like a catchweight fight for this yet.
Well, and the best part is they are both on the same card coming up very soon. They both fight on that same upcoming card, so
maybe if
there's a chance for this to get even more interesting.
Maybe if we're lucky, the stars will align and both of the people they're fighting will fall out, and they'll have to sign the last minute, hey, we'll fight each other.
That wouldn't break my heart either. I was also thinking that should the MMA gods see the stars aligning just right, they both win in spectacular fashion and call each other out that night in their post-fight.
Fuck yeah.
How much more clear could that make to Dana? This fight needs to fucking happen tomorrow. They've done all the legwork. This is like McGregor-esque press that these boys have done, setting this fucking beef up in the main spotlight. It's ready to be just hoisted and set out as a fucking main event and set free to do what it's going to do. Fight night, pay-per-view, I don't care. Put it as a fucking 5-rounder. Let those boys go, and I promise you it will be glorious. But that also makes a lot of sense. So we already know that means Dana's not interested.
Nope.
But before we get too deep into shenanigans here, luckily there was not a ton of news this week since we had seen you folks last. So I do want to give a quick little rundown of last week's pay-per-view results, just the important juicy bits that you guys are going to need to know here, because then I want to talk about the medical suspensions from said card that have been released before we get into the news. So first and foremost, Polyana Viana. Holy shit, go watch that highlight right now. It won't take you that long and you will be thankful for it. The way that she turned that into the armbar, she could have gone several directions with the hold as she had it when she got it. And you could hear the commentators fumbling over what they thought she was going to do with it. And then she just, oh so fucking smoothly turned that into the armbar that even still you could tell was being gracious. She was just like, how much do I need to give you? How much do I need to give you? Because we're going to get there. Very well controlled, very smoothly applied. That girl is a fucking problem coming up, I'm telling you right now. Speaking of a problem coming up in the works that was unanticipated by quite a few, myself included, Fluffy Hernandez with that fucking amazing guillotine that he fucking locked on so goddamn hard. I was kind of impressed it took as long as it did for the stoppage there. Like as soon as that was applied, you could see that was right on the fucking money and he had it.
I think the greatest part of that fight was that he didn't even really have it fully secured because he was almost in like a side control from the bottom type position. It was fucking weird. And he didn't have his legs fully locked around to finish. Nope. But man, did he finish fucking strong.
The second you saw him lock grip, it was fucking Dunsville, son. That was very, very impressive by Fluffy. I did not see that coming, and I could not say a fucking word afterwards. That You got me, buddy. Hats the fuck off to you. That was awesome. And then, as if it was a contest for the evening, following shortly after that, the Cuban Missile Crisis himself, holy fucking shit, with that anaconda from hell just about ripped homeboy's fucking neck off his head. Oh my God. And then possibly contender with Derek Lewis afterwards for one of the greatest post-fight interviews I have seen, and I cannot tell you how long. If you have not seen Julian Marquez's post-fight interview from last weekend, please write yourself a note right now and go find that when this episode is done. You will have such a greater appreciation for him than you do right now, I promise. It's glorious. And if you feel like going down a rabbit hole, that story has expanded even further from there threefold. There are happenings in the works, apparently. Like, it worked. It exactly what he wanted worked from that call out.
You know what the best part of that was? Outside of his call out, for me, watching him come back after 3 years away from the sport from an injury he may never have fought again, to come back and win in a dominant fashion.
Yeah, that is for damn sure.
And
that man sealed that with authority.
That was fantastic. Although I will say, the folks I was watching this with were dying at his entrance music, going, "Really? Is he really walking out that?" Yes, he is.
Yes,
It was.
He fucking
There was a master plan in motion here.
It was all pieced together so beautifully.
For those of you who want to go and watch his post fight, make sure you watch his walkout first, because I'm not going to give it up for you and tell you what he walked out to or what his post fight was.
That's where I'm at as well.
But what I will tell you, go watch his walkout music and then watch his post fight. You don't even have to watch the fight if you don't want to. However, I would recommend it.
Yeah, it's not that long.
It brings together very well. Like, there was a definitely plan in motion for what was going on there, and it worked to perfection.
Yeah, I was very proud. I was very proud to see that all unfold the way that it did, and to know that it's still working and still unfolding now. Bravo, sir. All I can say is bravo. Beautifully done. And again, as if they were trying to compete, following right up after that, Ricky Simone came in and just beat the fucking brakes off of Brian Kelleher from start to fucking finish with fucking authority, man. The mullet is coming back. He knows he fucked up. He's correcting his mistake, and you can see it working in real time. That boy came in, kicked so much ass, he ran out of names to take. So now he is set to take part in potentially the next Submission Underground's tag team jiu-jitsu competition. Team Simon, Ricky Simone versus John Simon, the Submission Underground winner, a bantamweight, I believe, are looking to team up for team jiu-jitsu, tag team jiu-jitsu rather. So, I mean, that's just a whole awesome level of winning right there. We kind of thought it was going to play out like this. Turns out we were pretty right. Kelvin Gastelum and Ian Heinisch both look like run over sacks of dog shit. That was probably the least entertaining fight on that card for me. No joke. I will say this: Kelvin Gastelum sucked less than Ian Heinisch did. Neither one of them looked impressive. Neither one of them did anything worthy of praise, in my opinion. They both looked very sluggish, very off. Neither one of them could stick to a game plan to save their fucking lives. And at this point, both of them should know better. It really looked like neither one of them gave two shits about being in there or what the result was going to be, because it didn't really matter either way anyway. But their attitudes absolutely reflected that, and the fight showed for it.
One thing I will say is I think that was helpful for one Kelvin Gastelum. Like I said last week, I think he needed something like that where it was a long, drawn-out, hard fight. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't a hard fight by the standards of him versus Israel Adesanya hard, but it was hard because he had to work the entire fucking time. And I think that might be that motivation that he needs to go, hey, I can still do this even when shit gets rough. Not that it was as rough as it was when he fought Izzy, but definitely in that same mindset of get him back into the grind. And hopefully that's enough to turn the switch back for him. Because not that I'm the biggest fan of Kelvin Gastelum, and I won't claim that I ever have been, but I do appreciate what he's done.
Exactly. And then seeing the performance that he put out there.
Yeah, I would like to see him get back to that area where we see him putting on fantastic fights. Possibly even another title shot against Izzy, because that was one of the best 185 fights you'll ever see in your fucking life. And either unfrozen or he's frozen. Nope, not frozen. Unfrozen. Okay. Oh, technical difficulties. Yep. Sound's going in and out. We're working on it. Hang tough. I have no idea what to say, but that's all right. I'm going to keep talking because it's kind of fun to do this once in a while.
The wonderful thing about microwaves, they operate on 2.4 gigahertz, which is the same frequency that most household routers run on, in case you folks didn't know that. So, anyways, I agree. I am not the biggest Gastelum fan either, but knowing what he did a la that Izzy fight, and then seeing, like I mentioned last week, in that embedded video, the lack of drive in him preparing for this fight, and it showed in the fight. I agree. I hope that at least the W back in his favor is enough to get the fire lit back underneath him, especially if, like, there are some rumors Adesanya might be staying at light heavyweight in a bid to try to realistically tempt John Jones back. Whether the Jan Blachowicz fight goes his way or not, if he performs well enough at 205 and decides that he wants to stick around and go back for that rematch with Jan, which will inevitably mean he has to fight someone else at 205 first, that, especially after the shit talking that has gone back and forth, would absolutely be bait, almost DC level enough, in my opinion, to really make John think about it at least.
I have a hard time seeing John picking that up purely on this point. Look at how much mass that motherfucker has gained. That is a lot to cut.
I agree.
To say, yeah, I'm going to come back down to 205. He would need at least 6 months to drop that safely. And I say safely to get back down to a point where he's mobile at 205 again. Not
hit 205, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure he can pull the dehydrate the piss out of myself down to 205 like DC did when he was making 205, because he was never a 205er. He just was able to pull the fucking dehydration card enough, and luckily enough, he was used to it because he wrestled for so goddamn long. But
he had trained himself to be able to do that.
Jones has never been that person because he's never had to cut a whole lot of weight. I mean, he walked around at what, a natural 225 maybe?
225 is what he was saying.
Yeah, so it was in like over the course of a fucking 8-week training camp, he could easily drop that 20 pounds without really having to detriment himself. But to go down from heavyweight, no, it's not going to happen. As much as everybody was hoping for that super fight, I'm going to go ahead and call it now. That motherfucker ain't happening.
Yeah, there's a really good chance, but you also have to think that if the stars just so happen to align and Izzy beats Jan, now Izzy's holding that 185 strap. Now Izzy's holding the 205 strap, which was John's belt. That could make it real tempting.
Yeah, it could. And I will say this stars could align. However, I'm having a hard time believing that.
Right.
I don't think I don't think how tempting it is. John Jones has worked way too hard to get himself where he's at to fight at heavyweight. Just to say, fuck it, I'm doing this. I think he's worked entirely too hard and busted too much ass just to say fuck it and do it and do that process all over again.
Although, the one thing that bothers me, he said he's going to heavyweight, and we still haven't seen a fight or any fucking inkling of who he could fight or anything. All we've seen is him putting on mass and training, which great. You're still training. You're putting on the mass. Good. That's a good sign because that means you still want to fight. But I have a feeling that there's a little dismay between the UFC and him, and it's causing some fucking rifts, and I expect a way better shot. And I have a strange feeling that they're going to try to give him the winner of Miocic and fucking Ngannou and let him skip the fucking line.
Dana already confirmed it.
Yeah.
Dana confirmed it last week.
Oh, did he? Yep. That's fucking stupid.
Yeah, he absolutely confirmed it. He said John Jones fights the winner of Stipe Francis. Like, he gets the shot. He gets to jump the entire fucking line. So,
well, I mean,
that's actually, go ahead.
I was going to say, he's been promoting him as the pound for pound best fighter for how long now?
Right.
I mean, he's painted himself in a corner with that. You have to do it. So I completely get why he skips the line. I mean, I get it. John Jones is the draw.
Right. No, that's actually Curtis Blaydes actually got asked about that comment specifically in the virtual media day yesterday, or earlier today rather. And he basically said, I pretty much knew they were going to let John Jones skip the whole line. I'm not happy about it, but there's also not a whole lot I can do about it. So if I have to stay here and clean out the entire rest of the division, I get paid per fight. I don't get that champ money. So the more active I am, the more asses I kick, the less my kids have to worry about their future. So if they need me to clean this whole goddamn division out, waiting for John to get his shot, so be it. I'll still be here, and I'll still take that belt when I get my shot.
That's a good fucking attitude.
That's the attitude to fucking have, knowing that they were going to push Jones regardless of who has the belt. That's the exact fucking attitude to have. It's going to be interesting. But I digress. Moving on from that dog shit of a fight, Alexa fucking Grasso. That young lady beat the dog shit out of Macy Barber from open to start, had her on the feet, had her on the ground. Wherever the fight went, Macy got some shots in, but never had control of that match for a split fucking second. Managed to make some very, very admirable escapes and turnarounds in the process of getting her shit pushed in, but there was not a moment that she ran that show. Alexa Grasso was in control from open to fucking close of that one. That girl is definitely getting her shit together and looking real, real good. Barbara, on the other hand,
I was going to say, we've been hearing for how long that Alexa Grasso's boxing was better than what we've seen, better than what we've seen, better than we finally saw it.
Yeah, we did. Yes, we did.
Because she just jabbed her to death, and then at opportune times. I mean, Macy Barber finally came to life in the third, but it was too little, too late by that point. And she looked fucking terrified in rounds 1 and 2. She was airboxing, and God knows what all that was about. But she finally started swinging for the fences in the third. And then it was way too late. Oh, yeah. Alexa Grasso.
It almost felt like she'd been training. It almost felt like she'd been training with the karate hottie the way she was air punching.
Yeah, I don't know what that was all about.
Those are very
to me.
Oh shit. That whole gibbered out. Oh no. She seemed very karate hottie-esque in rounds 1 and 2. She was very Watterson-esque, punch in the air.
I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt. I really did. The only benefit of the doubt I could possibly give is that she thought it was a 5-round fight and was trying to conserve energy in rounds 1 and 2. and that's why she came up strong in 3. But was not a 5-round fight, and she
Yeah,
looked
no,
like
that
absolute
backfired.
dog piss.
Yeah, that backfired hard.
Because if she would have went like that from round 1 to 3, we'd have seen an absolute fucking war.
That'd have been a very different match.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah, and she normally does. Like, that's not Macy Barber. Macy Barber, like always just charges in and throws down. So
I'm wondering how much of that had to do with that knee injury.
yeah, so that's what I was worried about. Said she's scared of her knee now.
Yeah, scared of it blowing out early, and then she's fucked.
But like I said, we finally saw some signs of life in the 3rd. Maybe that'll carry over to her next fight, whenever that happens. But
Right.
she probably how long of a medical suspension did she wind up with?
We're gonna get to that. We're doing
Oh,
a
okay.
quick rundown, and then we're gonna go directly to those medical suspensions for that exact reason.
Okay.
So moving on from there, very, very reminiscent of the Grasso Barber fight. Usman came out round 1 and was just catching hammers. He was throwing some decent shots, but he was catching fucking hammers from Gilbert Burns. He had him seriously fucking hurt to the point where Joe Rogan started yelling the O's, and you knew it was getting serial. To his credit, though, he came out in 2 and changed it completely around, and he started landing not big shots, not flurries, but clean shots. He was landing right on the fucking nose of Gilbert, or right on the corner of the fucking chin. He got real precise in round 2, and from then on, nothing that he threw was headhunter. Nothing that he threw was big power shots. Like, you could see Gilbert was kind of amping himself up, and everything was with bad intentions. But to his credit, Usman stayed very maintained and just kept landing clean, solid, precise fucking shots. And then one of them changed Gilbert's whole fucking game. And from then, it was all downhill for Senor Burns. Dorino just could not hang with the precision that Usman put on him. Congratulations to Usman. He absolutely earned that fucking victory undeniably. He stopped Gilbert Burns in his fucking tracks. There's not really a whole lot that can be said about it. He did the damn thing.
The only thing I can say is everybody knows I'm not a Usman fan at all. Don't like him, never have. However, I do give him credit for what he's accomplished. He's done very well.
Exactly.
Last weekend, his jab was one of the best jabs I've ever seen in the UFC. It was
on point.
It was short, crisp, and he wasn't using it with power, but it was just he was touching him, and he was touching him wherever he wanted to. He was splitting guard, the whole 9. Like, he literally, there was no beating him last week. Not with that jab. No. That's the most underutilized strike in all of MMA. And we say it and we say it again and again. There's a reason for that. That touch opens up that cross or uppercut. And
a dozen different
we
fucking
saw
things.
that happening because that's what he was doing. He was jab, and then he'd hit him with a good, solid, straight right. Or he'd switch it up and you'd see him go southpaw, and he was jabbing from the southpaw too with great fucking accuracy, I might add. So my hat's off to him for that. Well done. I don't even want to talk about his post-fight fucking nonsensical bullshit.
I'm not even addressing that shit. I'm just talking solely about the fight. I'm not even going to address that shit.
As far as the fight went, though, he stuck to a really great game plan, and it fucking worked beautifully.
Yep. I am no Marty from Nebraska fan by any stretch of the imagination, but I say it all the time, and I'll continue to fucking say it. I make a point to give credit where credit is due, and that man defended his belt with authority.
Yeah. Yeah, what impressed me was was his ability to switch sides and still keep that jab going. I didn't think he had that in his repertoire. So yeah, he was getting clean jabs both ways, which surprised the shit out of me. And yeah, like you say, if you can maintain that jab and just keep picking your spots. Next thing you know, Gilbert Burns is not what we all said he was, quite frankly.
On his ass doing Liu Kang bicycle kicks in the air.
Yep. Yeah, he got handled. So yeah, I'm a little surprised that happened to Burns, and I was really surprised watching those jabs coming from both sides. But yeah, I give credit where credit is due. I mean, that's if you can do that, I mean, there's nobody in the UFC that can stop you if you really don't want to be stopped.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you can switch your stances and keep that jab going, there's nobody that can stop you. So
yep. I was a little disappointed that, and Burns even said this himself, in the moment, every time he hurt Usman, and he hurt him several times throughout the fight, and you could tell when he rocked him, and he did rock him, Gilbert would get too excited and he would load up too much and he was chasing too much and he couldn't calm himself down. He couldn't catch his breath. He couldn't regulate his energy. And in doing so, he left his guard down so much. The thing that Usman did so beautifully to capitalize on that exact situation is when he noticed the jabs started working, he started throwing it from the hip more. Instead of throwing it from the guard, he would go and move and then throw it from the hip. But from the hip was so quick and so fucking right on the money with it that Gilbert, with his guard so fucking loose, didn't have a chance to fucking react, and it just helped him set up so much other shit until that was all she fucking wrote. So,
and I mean, whenever Burns started to land good shots on fucking Usman, whenever he started landing good shots, he started to get too relaxed. He wasn't fucking doing anything. He was too relaxed. He was like, "Oh, I got this shit. He's getting cocky. Whenever you get cocky, you get sloppy. You have a fucking mission to do at the end of the day. Get your shit done. Stop showboating. Stop fucking Liu Kang fucking feet in the air pedaling. That shit's unnecessary. You get paid to fight. Fucking fight. That shit's aggravating. If Burns actually took that as an actual fucking competition instead of a game, which you could see he started to, that could have been a different outcome. He's got too relaxed.
Yeah. Yeah, he just couldn't stick to it, and it cost him, and that sucks. But that's part of the game. We say it all the time. There are so many fights that literally come down to who can not just formulate, but who can stick to the game plan when it doesn't seem like the game plan is working initially, or when the game plan might not seem the most conventional, but it's designed for the long run, like Usman's fucking jab clearly was. Because as soon as he started putting that on, you could see him using it more, but he stuck with the jab when it started working, and you can't take it away from him for that. Another one, it's I understand when they do it for a fight night, but when you've got a pay-per-view event that's supposed to be, your shining beacon, your numbered event, I say with air quotes for those of you listening, you expect 2 performances of the night and a fight of the night. This is something that people were expected to pay for. You expect there to have been a fight of the night. And instead, we had another one of those situations where Dana decides that instead of that, he's going to give 4 performance of the night bonuses. Now, I'm not saying in any stretch of the imagination that I don't believe that these 4 individuals deserve bonuses. What I'm saying is that this is not how this was designed to work, and it feels a little shitty that they're doing it on a pay-per-view card and not a fight night card. That being said, performances, plural, of the night. Polyana Viana for that fucking beautiful early submission. Julianne Marquez for that beautiful fucking submission. Fluffy Hernandez for that beautiful fucking submission. And then Marty from Nebraska for putting Gilbert Burns on his ass and ending the fucking night with a knockout. I agree. All 4 of those people deserve their bonuses, but it's a weird way to get about it when they've kind of established that the pay-per-views are the big shows, and that the way that those big shows go is that we get a fight and 2 performances. I'm weird like that, though, so take that with a grain of salt. that being said, this is where I wanted to bring in the medical suspensions, because as we've talked about on several episodes now, because it seems to be a Nevada recurring theme, medical suspensions lately have rarely matched the actual fights that they are a product of. This is a kind of a beautiful example of that. Ian Heinisch and Julianne Marquez both suspended till March 16th. No contact until at least March 7th. Couple weeks. No big deal. Brian Kelleher and Maki Vitolo, both of them got worked. Suspended till March 31st. No contact till the 16th. Rodolfo Vieira, no contact until March 31st, out until April 15th. Fluffy has to have his right hand x-rayed. Apparently he hurt himself choking the dog shit out of that dude. He's out till August 13th or cleared by a doctor. If he hurt himself, I get that. Lima, who put in a hell of a fucking match, they say broke his nose, so he is out until August 13th or cleared by a doctor. Reasonable. Mallory Martin, out till August 13th or cleared by a doctor. Gutierrez, broken nose, August 13th or cleared by a doctor. Gabriel Green, March 16th. Philip Rowe, x-ray on the knee, out till August 13th or cleared by a doctor. Usman, August 13th, cleared by a doctor, hurt his foot. Burns, who got stopped in his tracks, March 31st. Grasso, who put on a fucking clinic, August 13th. Barber, who got worked, CT scan, August 13th. The more damage absorbing fighters got lesser medical suspensions, again, than the people that got fucked up.
I wonder if Grasso hurt her hand.
That could be a very, very distinct possibility.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of. Dented her hand on Macy Barber's forehead.
Yeah, Macy kept stopping all those punches with her face, and it hurt Alexa and in the long run. But just fucking Nevada, man. You would think at this point, knowing with everything going on and the tour still raging, now with new branch off variations, they're going to be there as long as they're allowed to be there, basically. Get it together. You're going to have fucking fights that the world essentially is watching every weekend or so again. Please get it together.
I mean, at least they're remaining consistently fucked up.
I will agree with that. I will absolutely agree with that. They are consistently fucking ridiculous.
They have the consistency there, at least.
I agree with that. But from there, let's get into some actual news, some non-frustrating last week's shit. The first one I want to go over is probably the most complex one. That's why I want to get it out of the way first. For those of you who are unaware, there was a woman who helped get ladies MMA into the UFC named Miesha Tate. She had a boyfriend named Brian Caraway. They were one of the first MMA couples that people kind of recognized, UFC MMA couples at that. They had a very unpleasant parting of ways when their relationship ceased to be equitable, I guess would be a good word for it. And since they have parted ways, Brian Caraway has very much been a thirsty ex that just can't get the fucking message. And then this week, he was officially charged with a whole fucking slew of crimes. Ironically enough, all relating to or tailing back to a fucking four-wheeler. Now, to be fair, this is not the regular four-wheeler that most of us would, think of going out and playing in the mud or riding through the woods on. This was one of them bougie-ass, fancy $17,000 four-wheelers. So there is something to be said about it. But the issue here is that on 3 separate occasions, while they both still lived in Las Vegas, Brian stole this four-wheeler from Misha's house when she wasn't home. And every time he did that, she would, like a normal person, call the fucking police. So on 3 separate occasions, Brian Caraway has been charged with felony theft of property because it's a $17,000 four-wheeler. And all 3 of the charges were dropped. Fast forward a little bit, Brian has moved to Washington State. Apparently, he has finally had enough of Las Vegas. He's moving up to the PNW. Good for him. Start over, do you, boo-boo. The problem is, as you may guess, Brian got a real hard-on for this fucking four-wheeler for some reason here. So what Brian does is, after he's settled in Washington, he goes back and steals this fucking four-wheeler again, brings it back to Washington, forges Misha's signature on a title application saying that she gifted it to him, gets a new title for it in his name, takes out a Geico insurance policy on the four-wheeler, and 3 days later reports it stolen. Files a full Geico claim, files a police report, the whole kit and caboodle, like a normal person would, had your thing actually been stolen. Come to find out, Misha didn't even realize it was missing because it sat in a garage on her property and she didn't use it all that often, obviously. She gets contacted by the insurance department, or the insurance company rather, and the police department to corroborate the story here, and is confused as to how the fuck she signed anything when you can clearly see the signature on that title application is not hers and not even close, apparently. Turns out now this is officially a thing, and the balls of this motherfucker, not only did he file a stolen police report for this four-wheeler that he stole and then forged to say was his 3 days after he took out the insurance policy on it. Turns out, while the police were there to investigate it being stolen, he showed them an empty shed while it was in a different shed on his fucking property. Well, spoiler alert, they found out every goddamn thing because Mr. Caraway is what we like to refer to as a stupid criminal. This is not a profession he should have considered. He is not good at it. And now it looks like he is potentially facing serious time because he has now filed multiple false reports, including to the police and an insurance company, which means he also committed insurance fraud, along with forging his ex-wife's signature on illegal documents. So he's committed forgery. I'm not even going to go over them because there is a literal laundry list of charges that he has now had stuck to him. Moral of the story, kids, if it ain't meant to work, let it go. Don't be stupid. Mr. Caraway is probably going to jail.
He's definitely going to jail. That's federal. It's federal now because he's crossed state lines with the property.
Yeah,
So-
they're not going to let him out light. He's fucked here.
And insurance fraud will fall under federal too, so he's going to be in a whole lot of fucking trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe she's getting her four-wheeler back at some point.
Yeah.
Might be 5-6 years down the road, but she get her four-wheeler back.
Right, and likely for good this time.
Yeah. I think it's got to be like a swanky side-by-side or something.
That's kind of I said. It's got to be super fucking fancy. It's a fucking $18, $17,000 four-wheeler that this dude has a serious hard-on for.
I just looked it up. That is a swanky. It's a Polaris RZR, yeah.
The side-by-side?
Yeah, they're side by side. Then they are
Yeah.
fucking expensive.
There you go.
Yeah, it's like he can't live without this fucking thing apparently, because he's stolen it literally like 4 or 5 fucking times total now. But
Yeah.
just what a fucking story, right?
He needed to plow the snow. I don't know.
I don't know. Like
That just takes a special kind of stupid. That's what that is.
So I've done some math over here of calculating all the lovely crimes. This is going to be, well, depending on the federal robbery one, because that's a big time gap. He's looking for about 130 to 190 months in federal prison. Yeah, because that robbery charge is 70 to 87 months alone.
Yeah. I mean, he'll plea out to something else.
that's
Obvious,
that's kinda what
obviously.
I assume
Yeah.
as
And-
well.
That's hilarious.
And depends on how much forgiveness there is in Misha's heart. Because she can drop some of them, but there's some things that are mandatory. Like the insurance fraud.
I was gonna say the insurance fraud is kind of a non-negotiable thing. Like he's gonna have to plead to something, and he's not gonna walk away with this one unscathed.
No.
Nah, he's going to prison.
Like
Misha might be like, woo.
Like the
there's some
forgery,
relief.
right?
forgery and stuff like that is like guaranteed 12 to 18 months in prison, and then insurance fraud is at a minimum 18 months.
So that's probably the least of what he's getting is a year and a half, if I had to guess. If Misha decides not to press charges, which there's no telling what she'll do. X's is X's. You never know exactly what goes through people's minds. Yeah. But I mean, she could decide not to press charges, and that would, keep him somewhere around a year and a half, 2 years in federal. So.
Yeah, it's.
But for sure, fucking Geico's gonna press charges.
Oh yeah,
so.
they're gonna get that
They're gonna-
motherfucker. They're like, no, you don't fuck with the lizard, son.
They're going to crucify him for one reason and one reason only. He was at one point a big enough name in the UFC that people know who he is. So let's crucify somebody who has a name, so that way other dumb motherfuckers know don't do it. Because if we'll do it to somebody who has a name, know damn well we'll do it to you too.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I can't figure out how the fuck he got 4 of those robbery charges dropped in Las Vegas that let it get to this point.
That'd be Misha.
But-
Misha letting shit go.
Yeah, like that's
all I could think of.
that's crazy enough, but then it gets weirder. But yeah, no, that complex level of what the fuck I wanted to get out of the way first, because that's the biggest spiel we've got in the news since last week.
Okay.
The next one, interestingly enough, we have now had it's becoming a semi-annual or an annual thing now. Stefan Struve has announced that he has officially retired again. Just like he did last year, shortly around this time, he said that he is complacent with his achievements in the octagon and has no desire to get back in there again. So he said he is going to retire again. I don't know that this one's going to take either, but I wish him the best and hope for his sake this is the good one, because he hasn't been nearly what he was when he was a notable name in a fair minute now. So I think this would probably be the best chance, especially since he just did this last year, and it would look really fucking dumb if he came back again or tried to. So I genuinely hope that he is sincere and that he is going to hang them up, and he is going to, as Clay Guida would say, pick up the fishing pole and put down the gloves.
I have a feeling after reading his lengthy post that he put out with the medical problems he's had recently. I think that was enough to push him over the edge to where I think this one is permanent now.
I think he got scared a little bit, and he's
And
like,
rightfully so.
Agreed.
I mean, you haven't performed well, and you've been taking way too much damage when you have fought. So
Right.
that medical shit that you have going on right now definitely should be enough to scare you to go, hey, you know what? It's time. I had a good run, and he did.
He did. He absolutely did.
There was a time when he was a fucking terror to be dealt with. Unfortunately, that time is long since passed. Sad to see him go because I did appreciate what he's done, but same time, dude, you got to think long term. This isn't a. I'm not going to use Dana White's move because this is a career. This is a fucking career. However, this is not a lifelong career.
Yes.
This is a young man sport, and I say young man relatively here because you figure between the ages of 20 up to maybe 40 if you're lucky. Most people don't last 40 or beyond in this sport. So to be honest, him leaving in his 30s, I'm all right with it.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like it's not that it's not a career. It's like the military. A lot of people only stay in for that 1-2 contract sort of scenario, that 4, 8, maybe 9 years if you sign a 5-year contract, and then bounce because it's just they can't do it anymore. That's how I'm starting to look at the career standpoint from Dana. It's a career, but it's just not something long term. It's something you can't do for more than like 10, 15 years.
Right. Yeah, you can get some time in, but it's not something you're going to bank on work until you draw a pension from. We did get a fair little chunk of interesting fight announcements over the last 72 hours or so here. Try and knock them down here pretty quick so we can get into some fun talk again. We kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, but we did get the announcement officially now. Mike Perry will be facing Daniel Rodriguez, D-Rod, on the April 10th card, which is headlined by Darren Till versus Marvin Vettori. So April 10th is when we're hoping the MMA stars will align for us. That's when our potential best shot is. And there is a potential shot there, especially if both of them play out right. That could be our night. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. We're definitely going to talk more about that as we get closer to that card, I promise. We also got kind of an interesting announcement. I didn't necessarily see it going this way, but I see the bigger picture here once they announced this. We got the March 20th, my birthday card, got another fight added to it. Derek Brunson versus Kevin Holland. So they are absolutely putting Kevin Holland on that path that Derek Brunson is kind of stuck in gatekeeper mode in the middle of, where they march you past him, and as long as you dispatch him in a fairly entertaining manner, that starts you on the faster track up towards the top. That's how Izzy, that's how Rob, that's how most of the people in the top 5 got to that point. Is you beat the shit out of Brad Tavares, you beat the shit out of Derek Brunson, and then they kind of throw you up into the real top 10. So it looks like Big Mouth's getting his shot. We'll see. The next weekend, March 27th, UFC 260 just had another interesting fight added to it yesterday. Kama Worthy getting back in there, taking on Jamie Malarkey. That has a lot of very interesting potential in it as well, and is also kind of seeming like a shit or get off the pot fight for both of those guys. They both have had their chance. They both have fallen on their dicks. It is time to either dust yourself off and show that you're a UFC fighter, or start looking at a Bellator name tag. So we'll see how that one plays out. Interesting that they stuck that on the pay-per-view card, but we'll see. Another announcement they gave for my birthday card, the March 20th card, JP Buys, who is part of the next iteration of attempted husband and wife UFC couples, both fighting on the same card. JP taking on Bruno Silva on my birthday, ironically enough. His wife will be taking on Kay Hansen. That's not an easy outing for either one of them making their debuts, and both of them are making their debuts based on getting a contract from the Contender Series. So here's to hoping that Bruno Silva and Kay Hansen can keep that bullshit from getting the shine. If the De La Rosas couldn't do it and their jujitsu badasses and a UFC married couple, then I sure the fuck don't want to see a pair of soup cans coming in off the fucking Contender Series get to take that crown. So they're starting to put some very interesting fights on my birthday card, and I'm not mad at that. We did get a couple of announcements. One of them for the May 15th card, Viviane Araujo, coming off of looking like a motherfucker very recently, is getting her chance to fight Caitlin Chukagian. So another sign that they are starting to push a fighter towards that upper echelon here, because Chukagian is kind of the Holly Holm of that 125 division. She's angling for another fucking title fight, but if you can get past her and beat her ass, you could jump the fucking line and maybe push JoJo out of the goddamn way. I absolutely think Viviane is a better fighter overall than JoJo, but this would be the fight where you would have to prove it to jump the line. That being said, it's a real possibility that she could. She head kicks Caitlin in fucking round 1 and ends the fight. We might be having a new conversation next week. So we'll see how that one plays out. The May 1st card just got a fight added to it here. Ian Kutalaba getting back in there against Devin Clark, another one of those shit or get off the pot fights. But at the same time, two guys that, if they show up, could make it real fucking interesting in that octagon on the evening. But they also both have that potential to make it an Ngannou-Lewis fight. So we can't get too excited, but you could get a little bit excited about that one, I think. The newest news, though, there was a pair of announcements that just came out literally this afternoon. Holy shit. The March 13th card has been saved. We found out that poor Khamzat not only got himself the ticket, but that tour is kicking his ass hardcore, to the extent that Dana White is flying him from Sweden to Vegas to get treatment for the tour in Las Vegas because he can't get good enough treatment in Sweden. They are putting the UFC doctors on Khamzat's ass. But in the meanwhile, coming off of the W, I say with air quotes for those of you listening, recently, Belal Muhammad has officially stepped up and will be facing Leon Edwards to headline the March 13th card. And almost as if they wanted to make sure folks were willing to tune into that fight, because it is still Leon Edwards after all, they have decided to double down and give us a pair of extra tasty morsels to make sure that we are paying attention to that card. The first announcement was Ryan Spann getting back into the octagon and taking on Misha Serkinov. Not an easy day back for anybody by any stretch of the fucking imagination. And as if that wasn't enough, Charles Jourdain getting back into the octagon, welcoming Steve Garcia. They're putting some pretty decent fights together for the month of March, and I am okay with that. They are actually even spreading them out fairly evenly throughout the March cards. So I'm not sure if someone has got a hold of Mick Maynard and Sean Shelby's ear, because we all know Dana won't fucking listen. But they have made some pretty interesting fucking games coming up over the next couple weeks here. We're going to have some interesting shit to talk about for almost every card coming up here for the next little bit. I like it. That being said, though, that's what I have got for news here. Any of you gentlemen have anything otherwise, we can get into some actual UFC breakdown here for these fine folks. So I think that will bring us into the namesake for this particular episode, the reason for the season. If you read the title, you get it. UFC Fight Night, Blaydes versus Lewis. That name is about the strongest you're going to get on the whole rest of the card. And that's the last one you get to watch. So unfortunately, there's absolutely some fucking filler in between the opener and the actual namesake, what you want to watch. But there's a couple in here that I do want to talk about here. They're not all complete garbage, but they are far from all winners as well. First and foremost, they have a 9-fight prelim card set to start at 4 p.m. Central Time Saturday. They are banking on all of the fucking prelims this weekend.
Okay. It's 9 right now. How many are going to be down to on Saturday?
I think we'll still be above a half a dozen by Saturday.
Yeah.
I think we'll
mean,
still have at least 6 for the prelims.
But that still gives him a decent run for a prelim.
Agreed.
Stack it out. 8, 9. Still gives you a good run.
Depending on how many we have left, I agree. Obviously, we're not going to break down all fucking 9 of these prelim fights, but there are a couple that I do want to mention you might keep an eye on. The opener itself, not the most exciting fight in the world, but it's been a minute since we've seen the polar bear in the octagon. Sergey Spivak, he's another one. We're at a point now, they're throwing no-named nobodies against you. You better shit or get off the pot, because they literally just cut 9 fighters yesterday and 6 fighters on Friday from the roster. Ali Al-Qaisi is no more. He was fun to watch. Couldn't get a fucking win, though. They nixed his goddamn contract and cut him the fuck out. They might not have come up with that 60 fighter list for Christmas like they said they were gonna, but they sure the fuck have been chopping fighters down every couple of weeks lately. So not the time to not be impressive in the octagon, especially when you're opening the card. So we'll see if Spivak's got it or if he's ready to get fucking sent to Bellator. And then following him, ironically enough, I hate to even have to say it this way, but the potential proof in the pudding of what I have said for quite a while here, that not all brothers are created equal. Sometimes one brother gets to shine while the other brother has the talent. Ayman Zahabi gets back in there this weekend, and we've seen Ayman look great, just not in the UFC yet, which is understandable because especially with his namesake and the big lights of the UFC, it can be a lot to get your fucking feet underneath you if you're just getting into it. But at the same time, we have also in the last couple of weeks found out that Rory McDonald completely uprooted his life and finally left TriStar to go down to Stanford MMA in Florida, and that George St. Pierre has basically not been at TriStar for a hot minute, other than the random session he needs fresh bodies to throw around. So it's as odd and as awkward as it is for me to actually have to say, it's starting to seem like Firas Zahabi, for the genius that he once was praised as being, might just have been in the right place at the right time and put the right pieces of the puzzle together. TriStar might not have been what everyone really thought it was. And this could be that potential if Ayman comes in here and kicks ass and takes names and doesn't start spouting crazy alien conspiracy theories on the microphone. This could be another one of those cases where one brother gets to shine, but the other brother is the one that does the work. Pettis brothers. Pettis brothers. Sorry, there was something in my throat there. Not really a whole lot following there. Chaz Skelly has been interesting. It will be interesting to see if he is interesting. Shauna Dobson hit and miss, but when she hits, god damn, she hits. Interesting to see what she'll be able to do. Rafael Alves, you could be something, you could be nothing. What you are, though, is in my way of the fight that I do want to talk about on the prelims. The reason the prelims are worth watching, the Nate train has returned, boys and girls. Nate Landwehr is getting back in the octagon, and they are letting him fight Juicy J. They gave him a man who's gonna get in there and gonna make it interesting. Might not have the greatest chin, but he also doesn't have any quit in him.
Mhm.
We've all seen how much fun Nate Landwehr can have in a fight when you give him a guy who don't quit. This is gonna be the embodiment of that, and I am fucking stoked to see it crack down. I got nothing against Juicy J. I had fun rooting for him on The Ultimate Fighter. Been rooting for him since he's been trying to get through the UFC. Just hasn't had the easiest road. But in this situation, homie, my boy Nate is gonna smack the taste out your fucking mouth and have fun doing it. Sorry, buddy.
Yep, this is the one. This is the one on the prelims to keep your eyes on, because just like you said, Julian Rosa, he doesn't really know how to quit, and he loves to do that forward pressure. He loves to just keep going and going and going, and that's exactly the type of fight that Nate Landwehr likes. Like, give me the pressure, give me some takedowns, let me kind of get my feet, let me figure you out, and then I'll start piecing you up, because I'll have your timing down. And this is gonna be a ton of fun. This is gonna be a ton of fun. I hope it goes to decision, because the last time we saw Nate Landwehr take someone to decision, it was an amazing fight. Just one of the best fights of the year last year. It was just a bloodbath. It was fantastic. And I'm hoping for kind of a repeat performance of this. I don't know that Nate has the power to finish him off. He might, but I think he'll just figure his game out, and then it'll be party time.
You know, the one thing I'm hoping for this fight is that it doesn't get fucking canceled. We've gotten our hopes up for Nate quite a bit lately, and shit has always come up last minute for the last couple fights here for him. That's right now, that is all I'm fucking hoping for, is that this one does not get canceled. All of the fights on the card, fuck them. This one, please, both of you be healthy. Neither one of you get tickets to the reunion. Neither one of you trip over a fucking cord because you're wearing sunglasses inside. Just please be safe. Wrap yourself in fucking bubble fucking tape. I don't give a shit. Make it to the fucking octagon before shit goes fucking haywire, because it will, as long as it makes it that far, and it's gonna be fun to watch. The only thing I have to say about that fight is that I'm hoping it doesn't get canceled, period.
Yeah, I'm gonna ride off a fresh. I completely fucking like blanked for a second. I'm gonna ride off fresh. Landwehr, this is his in Fresh's and y'all's, in all three of you gentlemen's words, this is his fight to lose right now. Everything is going in his favor with how Julian fights, with how he does everything. This is Landwehr's fight to lose. And if he does, that's gonna be very sad, because I'm beginning to really enjoy watching that man fight.
Right. No, Nate Landwehr is one of those guys that we like to say is allergic to boring fights. He breaks out and punches. He can't not have a great fight. We've seen it time and time again. He's got a highlight reel you can go watch. That man makes fights fun, and especially when he's got a guy in front of him who's going to come right at him, who's not afraid to stand and bang with him. It's it's got all the potential to be fight of the night, in my opinion. It's dark horse fight of the card for fucking sure. I'm telling you right now, that fight is being overly slept on, and it's going to be a banger one way or another.
I concur.
Unfortunately, after that, we get Eddie Wineland fresh off his Sean O'Malley ass whipping forever ago, just getting back in there that you're going to have to sit through. But to be fair, once you sit through that, or go get yourself some popcorn, pour yourself a nice cool beverage, get yourself a wobble pop on the way through, whatever you happen to go on. After that shit show's over, we get a very interesting matchup that we talked about last week. Last minute switch up. Drakkar Klose coming off of a fucking war with Beneil Dariush, stepping in, fighting on short notice. Luis Violent Bob Ross Pena coming back off of a little humble pie serving himself. This has got as well some very interesting potential on it, because both of these guys are kind of underrated in my opinion. Not that either one of them are fucking superstars or by any stretch of the imagination, but both of them are very, very underrated in my opinion. Both of them have no problem standing and banging. They are both lengthy strikers when they need to be, but both of them are also very capable and competent ground fighters with very interesting jiu-jitsu styles to their own. This is one of those fights that could literally go anywhere. They are both long, lanky strikers when they stay on the feet. They are both great grapplers with very unique submission attempt styles on the ground if it gets to there. They both have great wrestling when it's going to be a defensive battle to see who gets who down, because it'll get to that point unless it becomes a knockout fight. But if that's the case, they both have a fucking mean right that can make it a very interesting stand-up battle if they decide that they want to keep it there as well. Not to the same extent as the Landwehr fight, but this is another one of those slept on fights. Even though it was short notice fucking change up craziness, this has as well some very, very good potential. I like Violent Bob Ross. I'm really hoping that since he has moved to ATT that he is continuing to round himself out, and it seems like it. I'm hoping we get a chance to see that here, but I still think with his fucking power on top of his well-roundedness, that Drakkar Klose has what it takes. I don't think we see a finish here unless we get a submission. I think this one could go to decision as well, but I think Drakkar Klose is going to take this one.
I'm actually more inclined to. I think this kind of fight kind of leans towards Pena. Like, I think that it'll probably get ugly and real clinchy, and they'll be kneeing each other in the side of the cage for a while. I think Violent Bob Ross. I think he's a little. I think his style's a little bit more unorthodox. Kind of comes at weird angles. Drakkar's he's really bizarre too, though. Like both of these guys are kind of weird to watch.
Yeah.
I think at some point it winds up on the ground. I think we wind up with a ground finish. I really have a hard time now that I'm running the fight through my head. I'm like, could Violent Bob Ross get him? Could Pena get him on the ground? Like, he's certainly capable of it. But Drakkar, he's actually not bad on the ground either. So it really could go either way.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's going to be weird. It's going to be a weird fight.
Yeah.
It's going to be weird. I don't see this one getting out of the second, though, for some reason in my head. I see a finish on the ground. I'm gonna go with Violent Bob Ross just because. I just kind of noticed the echo in here too.
To be honest, I think Violent Bob Ross is getting screwed here. Because to be quite honest, he's a hot and cold fighter at best. I like Violent Bob Ross to an extent. He came in, coming into the UFC, he showed a lot of potential. However, that potential has yet to materialize because every time you think he's got it fucking fixed, he loses a fight. I think his longest win streak in the UFC has been 2, if I'm not mistaken.
You're correct.
He
It's
is
2.
win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. In fact, he's coming off of a loss by one Worthy, who absolutely decimated that motherfucker.
Yes, he fucking did.
Drakkar Close isn't much better, except for his win to loss ratio in the UFC is a fuck ton better than Luis Peña's. He was on an absolute tear until his last fight where he got KO'd in the second. Guess what? It happens to the best of them. He was on, I want to say, a 4 or 5 fight win streak before that fucking happened. Like, he had some really high potential, but unfortunately, you ran into somebody who's just got a little bit more potential. Which, that's not saying much, because, I mean, look what happened fucking the other week there against who he just lost against. He again showed why he's got that fucking type of potential, and he had one of the greatest post-fight interviews of all time.
Oh, yeah.
Not calling out a fighter, but calling out the system for both his competitor and the way that the UFC likes to matchmake. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that. Drakkar Close, I think, gets this done. And to be honest, I think he has the capability to knock out Violent Bob Ross with inside of 2. I don't think we're going to see the 3rd round in this one.
Interesting. Told you guys are calling a second rounder.
This was tough as fuck for me. The only 2 ways I can see it going is Pena being super weird, linky ground game shit, because he does have the very unorthodox ground game, or Pena gets absolutely fucking rock standing on his feet. Those are the only 2 outcomes I can remotely like play through my head. Because Pena eats some good shots unnecessarily. You can see him coming from a mile away, but he doesn't block, doesn't defend, doesn't fade back, nothing. He'll just eat them. Those are the ones that always knock him out. So if it stays on the feet, Pena's getting knocked out. If he can get close to the ground and keep him there, I think Pena could possibly be able to pull off a W. Only 2 outcomes I could see. I would not be mad by either one of those. I like both these fighters.
I can see that. Yeah, no, that I absolutely agree. Both potentials are there. If it gets to the ground, Pena's definitely got a weird enough style. He could make it real problematic, but like you said, he's not afraid to eat shots to try and get what he's trying to do to work. And that has absolutely been problematic for him in the past, because he doesn't have the greatest chin, but he's not afraid to take a shot. And that can be a bad combination, especially against a tricky guy like Drakkar Close. Drakkar almost reminds me of like a modern Keith Jardine in how awkward his style is, but so deadly all around at the same time. Going to be a fun fight either way. Unfortunately, though, that brings us to the quote-unquote premier prelim fight. I got to be honest with you here. Up until last summer's Fight Island run and the Embedded series gave us a real good look at who he was, I was a fan of Jared Gordon's. It generally takes a certain caliber of person to be a Paul Felder longtime training partner. And you kind of, at this point, if you're kind of hardcore like most of us are, when you know a lot about the backstory of fighters and their training partners and their gyms and whatnot, like a lot of us do, especially when you're talking about somebody that with the legacy of Paul Felder, you just kind of assume that if that guy has a long-term training partner, that's a dude that's solid that you can fucking count on. And then you saw in last year's embedded series that no, Jared Gordon's kind of a shitbag human being. And I'm not going to talk about his fucking fight, even if they put him on the premier spot. He can fuck all the way off. We're going to jump right into the main card. The bad part about doing that is that in jumping right into the main card, the first fight we have to talk about is Andre fucking Arlovsky. I've said it about fighters in the past, and I'm sure I will say it about more fighters in the future. There comes a point when enough has to be enough. Exactly. Guida said it best. Know when to put down the gloves and pick up the fishing pole. Andre Arlovsky has undeniably cemented himself a gigantic fucking place in the MMA Hall of Fame, least of all the UFC Hall of Fame. This is one of the men that you cannot deny is a cornerstone of the reason that MMA is fighting for network television time today. That we can do a show that enough people will listen to understand that UFC and MMA is a fucking thing that's worth watching. This man helped cement its place there and has just been fucking cruise controlling it for too goddamn long now. They are almost disrespecting in the amount of nobodies and up and comers and could be's or probably won'ts that they are throwing at Arlovsky at this point. And no disrespect to Tom Aspinall, he came out and put on a hell of a performance last time and has every bit the potential to be the guy to fucking put Arlovsky to sleep and make him put those fucking gloves down. He legitimately does. But at this point, I just don't fucking care how it happens. We have seen Arlovsky go through the fucking motions and phone it in for so many goddamn fights at this point. I don't fucking care who stands across the octagon from him. I don't want to fucking see him fight anymore. He is quite literally a shell of his former self, and his former self was fucking great. So I get why he wouldn't want to quit if he still thinks he can do it. But that is the point where you have to have a good enough fucking corner where someone you trust can tell you it's time. And you have to be willing to listen, because Arlovsky is a literal living legend of this sport, but he has been very little more than a gatekeeper with a name for years now. And it pains me as a fan to see him keep trotting himself out like a fucking show pony that just can't place in the money anymore because he clearly needs the fucking paychecks. He still has enough of a name. He has a wide variety of options that he can still take up that will clearly give him a future that will take care of his family. But playing the MMA game is not one of them anymore. Even a great knockout, albeit as far-fetched as it is of a concept to even think about, against Tom Aspinall, if Arlovsky somehow comes out in one and just fucking Ngano's him and fucking overreams his head to the back of his neck and lays him the fuck out, I don't care. That's not enough. The time has fucking passed. I genuinely hope, win, lose, or draw, regardless of the outcome of this fight, Arlovsky puts his fucking gloves in the center. It's only gonna go downhill. It's not going to get better. Your time has come and gone. You had a great fucking run. Take the Stefan Struve. Stop it. That being said, I genuinely think Aspinall has the power and the boxing, and Arlovsky doesn't have enough of a chin left. I think Aspinall stops him.
Yeah, this is ending in the first. That's all Aspinall has done, is finish people in the first for the last several fights. So it's a shame to see Arlovsky come to this. I mean, I get it. You still got a name. You still, people see Arlovsky on their card. They're like, oh, he's still around. I still get it. I get trying to draw as much as you can for as long as you can, but this is gonna be probably a terrible fight to watch. So unless there's like a super flashy finish, there's always a puncher's chance. We always say that, but in this case, it's gonna be Aspinall's punching that ends this. So that's all I got.
And it is third straight start for Tom Aspinall with a third straight first round finish. Arlovsky, please hang up the gloves. You've fallen so far from grace at this point. It's fucking unbelievable. And I have a huge amount of respect for him for what he's done for the sport, but he's been clinging on by a thread, beating a guy here, losing a fight by knockout, barely winning a fight, losing a fight by knockout. Tom Aspinall, if none of y'all haven't watched his last two fights in the UFC, he hits hard enough to make Andrei Arlovsky's soul leave his fucking body. Maybe if we're lucky, he'll send it into orbit with fucking the likes of, let's see at this point, let's line them up. Ben Askren, Frankie Edgar losing his soul the other day. I'm saying he can put them in the orbit with those kind of guys. I'm hoping so, because it's not that I wish ill on Andrei Arlovsky. I wish him ill enough to realize he needs to fucking hang it up.
Yep.
Although I wish it would never come to that.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say, as weird of a fucking statement as that is to make, I 100% agree. There's no fucking ill will, but at the same time, if this motherfucker needs to wake up seeing the fucking ceiling and the referee standing over him to make him fucking realize it, Tom's the man that'll fucking be able to do it.
I'm just gonna go ahead and ride off of that. Andrei Arlovsky really, he's been fighting now for almost 22 years professionally. He started fighting in 1999 in April. He's going on 22 fucking years. Like what I said earlier, professional fighting is like a fucking stint in the military. Most people last like 8, 9 years, 12 years, shit like that. Very few people stick out for the solid 20. You needed to leave fucking a contract ago. You needed to leave 4 fucking years ago. I have the most amount of love for Andrei Arlovsky. Your mouthpiece was the first mouthpiece I ever won a title for in Rival MMA out of fucking Florida. Your mouthpiece sits in Top Dog Gym in a fucking case with a title that has my name on it. I love who you are. Fucking leave the sport.
I agree. And it again, it sucks to even get to that fucking point, but Dana's still willing to trot him the fuck out, so we got to keep fucking saying it, unfortunately. But moving on from there, this fight, I'm a little conflicted about this fight. I am genuinely curious to see how this plays out. Philip Hawes taking on Nasruddin Imavov. At the same time, I'm not sure why this is on the main card and some of the others are on the prelims. This, in my opinion, could have just as easily been swapped with the Drakkar Close fight. This could have easily been swapped with the Nate Landwehr fight. This could have been swapped with, 3 or 4 different fights on the prelim card. That being said, I do like Nasruddin Imavov, but I am very curious to see if the initial glimpse we got of Philip Hawes is actually Philip Hawes, or if that was in the moment under the bright lights, all the fucking stars lined up for you to make that glorious fucking debut. Are you going to be able to pull that same type of horseshoe out of your ass? Is that who you actually are? Or did we catch one of those guys who showed up like a Kamzat at just the right time with just the right skill set in just the right fucking match to look spectacular? This is that time to find out, because Nasruddin is not going to fucking lay down for you. That dude's game is motherfucker. That dude is game as a motherfucker. But what we saw of Philip Hawes in his short debut was pretty goddamn impressive. I honestly don't know how this is going to go, because like I said, this could be the proof that Philip Hawes came in at just the right moment for everything to line up, or he's a bad motherfucker and he's about to show the UFC why they signed him on that fucking roster. Either way, this is another fight that I'm telling you right now has potential to be fucking spectacular.
All I can say is I hope he didn't blow his 19 seconds of fame, and by that I'm referring to how long it took him to get his first knockout. Because it was phenomenal, but 19 seconds doesn't tell you a whole lot about a fighter, so we'll see. I really think this, to be honest, should have been on the undercard, but for a fight night, they do really fucked up weird things with the card, so whatever, it is what it is.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if, because I mean, Imanov likes to kind of sit back and pick his spot, and with a dude who's going to be coming after him like a fucking freight train, it'll be interesting to see how he reacts to it. Like Meter said, he's not gonna lay down. This could be a way more entertaining fight. It would be interesting to see where Haas's cardio is, see how much of a gas tank he's got. But he's gonna be coming rumbling out, and he might blow it all in the first. So be interesting to see. Be interesting to see where this goes. I'll take Haas for a knockout, because I think Imanov might have a little bit more confidence in himself than I do, if that makes sense. Like he likes to sit back and try and counter and pick his spots like that. That could, against a dude like Haas, that could really, really, really backfire. So yeah, I'll take Haas.
So both of them this is their second fight in the UFC. 19 seconds versus a decision. I'm taking the 19-second boy. And I don't think that 19-second was a fluke. He's coming out of Sanford. And those guys are fucking animals. It's going to be a very interesting fight, regardless. If it stays on the feet, I think Hawes has a massive advantage, because that man hits like a fucking freight train. But Imavov, he's got a lot of skill and a lot of ability on the ground, and I don't know if Hawes over there does. So it's going to be very interesting to see how he acts and how he reacts whenever that takedown does come around.
Right.
It's gonna be an interesting one.
I'm down for it either way. I think it's gonna be a great match, but it's good. I don't know. There's just no real good way to call this one, in my opinion. And like I said, I got nothing against either guy. I think it's gonna be a great fight. It's a little weird that they're putting this on the main card when some of the other fights are on the prelims. But like TJ said, it's a fight night. They do weird shit, so we'll watch either way. And speaking of guys who may have shown up at just the right moment and had all the things aligned like they needed to or not, Chris Daukaus, I apologize. Chris Daukaus getting back in after a fucking amazing performance of his own. The problem for Chris is that they're putting him in there against the dad body constrictor himself, Alexei Oleinik, one of the craftiest old bastards in the UFC. this is a little bit different in that we've seen a little bit more of Chris Dawkis's game than we've seen of Philip Hawes. The issue is that the other side of that coin, we have mountains and mountains of tape on the dad body constrictor, and he might not be the fastest, he might not be the youngest chicken in the coop, but that motherfucker is just as dangerous as anyone on the UFC roster on any night. That old man can take a fucking punch. That old man can take you down. That old man can stop you on the feet. That old man can choke you out on the feet. He can take your limbs on the ground. He can wrestle the shit out of you if you just want to make it hard for him to get you down. That old man has got a very, very complete game and a pretty damn good cardio to go with it. I like Chris Dawkis, and I think he's another one that he's got a lot of potential in him. But at this point, I can't root against the dad body constrictor. He's made me look like a dumbass too many times thinking that some young buck has got his fucking number, and then he Von Olenek chokes that motherfucker out, and I'm left looking like a dipshit. So I'm not rooting against the dad body constrictor until he gives me a fucking reason to.
Did you just relabel the Ezekiel choke as the Von Olenek choke? Oh. Oh, but in all seriousness, I think we might see another Ezekiel choke here. I really do, because the way Chris Dawkis has had his last two fights go, where he's just come in full force, knocked dudes out, Alexei Olenek likes to play into that and let them get into a position where they think they've got it, and then bam, you got the mount. What are you going to do? Oh, you're tapping out. I have a feeling we very well could see that. I think, unfortunately, Chris Dawkis is getting thrown to the wolves long before he's fucking ready.
Yeah, I mean, this is it almost feels inevitable. The Dawkis is he's gonna punch himself right into old dad body constrictors traps. I mean, how many times have we seen it now? Like, you'll see him get like flushed out in a fight, and the next fight he comes back and he just chokes the shit out of somebody. And I think that's kind of where we're sitting right now. I think he's due another probably second round choke out. Like, he'll let him punch himself out in the first, and then next thing you know, he's got him in some sort of bizarre ass choke, and like, poor kid had no idea what happened to him, and you should have seen it coming, because we all see it coming. So, Alexei Olenek, you can have it. Yeah, it's gonna be funny. Be funny to see how he gets him into the choke.
That's what I'm curious, is how is he going to get there? Like, it's not really a matter of if, just how.
I was talking about this one this with one of the guys at work, and he's like, "Oh yeah, it's if you can get him down, if you can get Dawkins down into the ground, I think it's gonna be real fun." Motherfucker, he has like 46 wins by by fucking submission. The fuck do you mean if he can? It's a win.
He's locked 2 of those up from the feet.
Yeah.
He brought 2 of them from the feet to the ground.
It's not if he can. It's whatever the fuck he wants to take you to the ground. You're going to the ground, motherfucker. Yeah, short, sweet, to the point. Olenek, like, submission, like always. I mean, the upside for Dawkins is he gets experience of fighting with somebody of a high caliber, especially on the ground as Olenek, and he doesn't get his nose broken again.
Right. Well,
it's always a plus
for your third fight in, to get a learning experience like this, that could help him. That could help set him up for a real good future, as long as he learns.
Yeah, as long as he watches it. Okay, well, how did he do this? Okay, that's how I did that. Okay.
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting.
I agree. Like I said, I'm not rooting against the dad body constrictor till that old motherfucker gives me a reason to, and so far he ain't give me one yet. So that's gonna be an interesting one. That being said, kind of told you earlier there was filler in this card. The Hawes fight, I kind of understand coming off of that big fucking 19-second finish, putting him on the main card. This fight makes no goddamn sense on the main card to me. Charles Rosa versus Derek Minor. We've got a contender series nobody versus a guy that Bryce Mitchell beat the dog shit out of and made look like a fucking fool after he talked all kinds of shit leading into the match. There is nothing about this fight that says anything main card, and I genuinely give two shits less who fucking wins it. It's just filler time. This is that point in the main card. If you need to refresh your drink, go grab a fresh wobble pop, get some popcorn, enjoy a little devil's lettuce. This is your intermission moment.
What the fuck is a wobble pop?
It's a beer. You ain't never had beer before?
I've never heard it called a wobble pop.
I mean, there's potential for this to be a fun first round.
I'll agree with that.
I mean, after that, I mean, because Minor's gonna throw everything he has at him in the first round. After that, it's Charles Rosa. So there's always the off chance that Minor can catch him, but it's gonna start slow, and then it's gonna pick up energy real quick, and then it's gonna lose energy real quick. So yeah, if this makes it out of the first round, feel free. Devil's lettuce, wobble pops, popcorn, whatever else you need to do. But has potential to be an exciting first round.
I'll say it. I'm just taking an L on this fight, and by L I mean probably a nap.
A good, solid 15-minute nap.
Yeah. But the real problem is that when you get back with your wobble pop or your fresh cup of water or your nicely popped popcorn or your fresh baked ice, you're coming back to a co-main event that's just honestly not really exciting. To be fair, it's better than the people's co-main event that it's following, but that's clearly not saying a whole lot. Ketlin Vieira versus Jana Kunitskaya. How this, of all the fights on the card, ended up as the co-main event is abso-fucking-lutely beyond me. If ever there was a premier prelim fight just waiting to be made, this is that goddamn fight. Russian dollar store Paige Van Zandt has nothing interesting going on about her other than the fact that she is the other half of Thiago Santos. She's not done anything in the octagon to impress anyone. She's not done anything out of the octagon to impress anyone. To be fair, Ketlin Vieira is one of the new ladies that is starting to make her way up through the rankings, and inevitably it would be good for her to smash through a gatekeeper soup can like Kunitskaya at some point. Why the fuck they decided that this was worthy of a co-main event slot,
Ranking 6 versus 7. That's the only reason.
But now all of a sudden rankings matter?
Yeah. That's the only fucking reason that like you can remotely think it. Because this is a 6 versus 7 fight.
Yeah.
That's it.
That being said, I do think as long as she shows up focused, Vieira, it's her fight to lose, essentially. Kunitskaya is a full-on soup can. She doesn't offer any real threats anywhere in the fight. As long as Ketlin shows up on point, this is her fight to lose.
Yeah, I agree. Caitlin Vieira, if she throws a couple solid shots, she'll be able to push her against the fence, and then we all know where it goes from there. If you've seen where this type of plodding ass, boring ass fight goes, yeah, she'll just smother her. She'll smother her for the entire 15 minutes, and you'll get a decision at the end. Caitlin Vieira, yay!
All I can say is the amount of shit show that the UFC is pulling together for co-main events in the last 2 weeks is absolutely wretched. Jana Kunitskaya has not done anything since she's come into the UFC that has been noteworthy, other than be a human punching bag. Caitlin Vieira, same fucking concept. Why are we putting up with fights that are going to be snooze fests in the fucking co-main event 2 weeks in a row? I can look at least one, maybe two other fights on this card that deserve this co-main event way more than this does. The Nate Landwehr fight, to start with, could be co-main event on this, period. That's got enough fucking to it. Put Alexei Oleinik and Chris Daukaus up there. Even though Chris Daukaus hasn't quite earned the co-main event spot, Alexei Oleinik fucking has. And he's enough to carry Chris Daukaus through that. But fucking Caitlin Vieira and Jana Kunitskaya? Did I miss something? Did one of them all of a sudden overnight get superpowers, or one of them bitten by a radioactive spider? Does one of them have an Iron Man suit, like a Mark 72 or whatever iteration we're at now? Or is one of them going into the MCU that we don't know about? This is something that gives this any relevance of being a co-main event spot. Oh, I might get a 30-minute nap here prior to the co-main event, or prior to the main event, because this is absolute fucking garbage. Like, literally. Do I want turd sandwich or giant douche? What are we calling ourselves here, UFC? What are we fucking calling ourselves? You vote. Either way,
A giant douche clean turd sandwich.
we're in a bad world of hurt right here. I'm just saying they could do a much better job. I get it. You're starting to grasp at straws, trying to throw all of these events together. Look, we noticed it last year because you're trying to do it every week. And I appreciate that. I really do. But how about let's go every other week, so that way you can have better cards, matchups that make more sense, better co-main events. And I agree 100%. This very well could have been the premier prelim fight, and I would have been perfectly all right with that, because this would have had just enough flair for that. But neither one of these girls has shown fucking a worthwhile bit ever. Period. I'll say it. Fucking ever. The only thing Jana Kunitskaya is going for is literally her old man. That's it. Caitlin Vieira, I wish I could find something for her, but I can't. To be honest, the women's bantamweight division right here is a problem. And it's not a problem because they're great. It's a problem because they're fucking horrid. And that's no slight against either one of them. Yes, you fought enough to make it into the UFC. You've obviously done your due diligence to get here. However, this also shows you how shallow the pool is in women's bantamweight.
Yeah, like I've said it quite a few times. Certain divisions just need to be fucking bring in a fuckload of fresh blood and just clean out people that are fucking stale, stagnant, not doing shit. Fucking clean shop. You want to clean out 60, clean out a lot of women's bantamweight, clean out a lot of a lot of the smaller weight classes, which that's my home, and that fucking sucks to say, but those weight classes have become very stagnant, very boring, and a lot of fighters that frankly don't fucking matter in the greater scheme of things. Vieira versus on decision. That's her MO. But clean out shop, UFC.
Agreed. Excuse me. I will say the one good thing about that co-main event, regardless of how it plays out, when it's done, we get the fight that everyone is actually tuning into this card to watch. The only real reason this main card has attraction, because realistically, the entire rest of the card could have been on a prelim on a different card, and it really wouldn't have been that big of a loss. But this one has to be 5 rounds. This one has to be the main event. This one deserves all of the eyes that it's going to get, because this one actually fucking matters. Curtis Razor Blaydes versus Derek the Black Beast Lewis. I understand that Dana has said that John Jones gets the next shot at whoever wins against Stipe and Francis. I get that, and I get why he said that. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. Regardless of that statement, the winner of this fight will be the legitimate number 1 contender. Regardless of the fact that John Jones has already been promised he gets to skip the line. The winner of this fight will be the legitimate next number 1 contender up in line, in my opinion. That makes for a very interesting matchup unto itself. But then you look at the 2 guys that are in here. Derek Lewis, regardless of what happens in that fight, regardless of how quick he gasses, because he will gas, at any point from the opening bell until the closing bell, Derek Lewis carries enough power in any one of his punches to end a fight. It doesn't matter who he's in there against. It doesn't matter what time it is in that fight. It can be 4:59 in the 5th round, and he still has enough power in his wobbly ass legs to throw that one hand that will end the fucking fight that quick. The problem is he's got to have that window to land that punch. And when you look at the guy he's standing across the octagon with, if nothing else, Curtis Blaydes is a mobile fighter. There are very, very few times you will see Curtis Blaydes stand still and be complacent there. He is always either moving or setting something up or coming at you or throwing something at you or putting you on your ass or working to get you to your ass. Curtis Blaydes doesn't give you a lot of windows to clip him with the big shots that Derek Lewis is going to want to throw. Derek Lewis isn't going to want to stand in there and do a 5-round boxing match. Derek Lewis wants to clip you with that big punch. He's got headhunter for a reason. He's considered a knockout artist, not a mixed martial artist. But Curtis Blaydes is a different kind of animal. Curtis Blaydes can and will stand in there with you and box for 5 whole goddamn rounds if that's how you want to play. Curtis Blaydes will go up and put you on that fucking fence. He will grab your legs and pull them out from underneath you and put you on your ass if you ain't careful. Curtis Blaydes will smother you and slice you the fuck open with them sharp ass elbows that he's got if you don't cover up. And contrary to what Derek might have said, there has yet to be a single fucking person that Curtis Blaydes has put down that has been able to, and I quote, just get up. I get that Derek thinks that he's really got this figured out and it's gonna be that easy. And it's not that I don't like Derek, but that's one of the stupidest fucking things I have heard come out of his mouth, and that man has dropped some zingers. But to tell me that when Curtis Blaydes power doubles you and puts you on your ass, you can just get up is beyond foolish. Curtis Blaydes never just power doubles and puts you down. The second your back touches that canvas, you better cover your fucking face. That dude's gonna drop bombs over Baghdad and come with those fucking razor blades to slice you open. He doesn't waste time. Curtis Blaydes understands this game very well, and he is very well-rounded at it. He is one of the most underappreciated heavyweights, in my opinion, that the UFC has let sit on the fucking back burner. For whatever reason, Dana has not felt fit to give Curtis Blaydes the shine that he has earned in blood, while Derek Lewis has been shoved up to the top his entire career. And to be fair, he has put on spectacular performances and earned most of the shine that he has gotten to this point, but in a very different way than Curtis Blaydes. Derek Lewis can catch you with that one shot, but Curtis Blaydes can catch you with any shot. Curtis Blaydes is a much more well-rounded fighter, and I think we are going to see exactly that this weekend. I like the Black Beast, but I think he's in for a long fucking night, because Curtis Blaydes doesn't take you down one time, even if you do manage to just get up, because as soon as you're on your feet, he's going to power double you again. And if you just get up, he's going to power double you again. And at some point, you can't just get up anymore, because he's going to drain you like a dish rag. And when you got no energy left, those elbows are real hard to stop. Ask Overeem how his forehead felt. I like the Black Beast, but this ain't it, son. This weekend, you're the Popeyes chicken. Curtis Blaydes by stoppage, 3rd round.
Yeah, we've actually seen Derek Lewis in fights like this before, where you kind of know what his plan is. His plan is to let him wear himself out and then start thundering. I mean, the plan could work out. I don't think Curtis Blaydes is the guy to try that plan on. So I think Curtis Blaydes has way better cardio than pretty much anybody he's fought up to this point. I think this could go long. If it goes long, it's going to get sloppy, and it's going to be fun. A lot of fun. Yeah. But I do think this is Razor Blaydes' fight. I think this is his fight to lose. Obviously, with Derek Lewis, you can never say it's over. I mean, there's an off chance that Curtis Lewis could be, or that Razor Blaydes could be on top of him, and he'll just swing a fist, and there's a chance that knocks him out. So there's never, like any Derek Lewis fight, there's never any point until he's completely done that it's over. And if he does happen to finish it, it'll be one of the more entertaining moments of the UFC year, because Derek Lewis always gives a fantastic interview. I kind of want to see him win because of that, but I think Razor Blaydes has him. I think this is his fight to lose. I think this is his chance to really put his flag in that line and say, hey, you guys have to pay attention to me. So I'm hoping, but yeah, I'll take Razor Blaydes probably third or fourth. But in my heart, I know that I want Derek Lewis to win this fight, just so I can hear the interview.
Yeah, there's 2 possible ways this goes, and one of only 2 ways. Either Derek Lewis spends his entire night on his back, because Curtis Blaydes has a fucking phenomenal wrestling pedigree, especially for the heavyweight division. Or we see Curtis Blaydes laid out, one of the two. There's no other way around this. It's either Derek Lewis fucking cleans his fucking clock, or Curtis Blaydes fucking holds him down and beats him into submission. Or TKO. Either way. But the one thing I'm wondering is, we all know how Curtis Blaydes fights. I'm wondering if because he's fighting Derek Lewis, he's going to think he's fast enough to outrun one of those bombs and try to show off his stand-up game. I don't think it's a strong possibility of happening, but there could be that off chance that happens. And if that's the case, I hope he takes a fucking notes on some previous fights. That generally doesn't work well for anybody who does that with Derek Lewis, because he can take a fucking punch. We've seen it. He was getting his fucking just ass whipped for 5 fucking rounds. Then in the last fucking minute, he will still put you to fucking sleep. He carries power even when he is exhausted. And we've seen it. And then all of a sudden, once he sees you go down and you start to wither, he gets that fucking last burst. And that's all she wrote. Because once you start withering, he doesn't let off the gas pedal till you're asleep. Curtis Blaydes, that dude, he's just fucking relentless, though. The amount of pace that he keeps for a fucking heavyweight is absolutely insane. Granted, we don't see any of his fights really go fucking full 5 rounds for a good reason. So, I mean, either way, you're going to get fireworks one way or another. My money's on Curtis Blaydes. However, I'm in the same boat with Fresh. I'm always pulling for the Black Beast. No fucking matter what. I don't think he's going to win this one, but I'm pulling for him. I'm hoping we see a knockout and some crazy fucking post-fight interview. Just because I like to hear the shit that comes out of his mouth, because it's like a fucking diarrhea. He just opens his mouth and shit falls out. And it's always shiny when it comes out because it's fucking fantastic. I mean, this is definitely Curtis Blaydes' fight to lose, depending on how he decides to play it. I don't see a world where Derek Lewis stops takedowns or is able to continue to get up. He'll get up a couple times. We saw it in his last outing that he can fucking get up from a bad position and manage to get himself up and back into the fight. And so he's obviously been working on his fucking ground game a lot, because he didn't have that before. So, I mean, we're in new territory here, and I still don't think he's got enough of a ground game, though, to stop Curtis Blaydes, unfortunately, because I really do like Derek Lewis. That dude's just fucking microphone gold, sound bit gold.
Oh, yeah. Every time they put a mic in front of him, it's fucking genuine gold.
That's it. I mean, fuck. But we'll see. It's going to be interesting. All I can say is, for this fight, don't blink, because chances are if you blink during this fight, you will miss something one way or another. And it might be that fucking Lewis knockout, or it might be one gnarly fucking cut coming from an elbow.
So the only outcome that I am truly hoping for is that after, if he loses this fight or even wins this fight, being ragdolled on the ground on this one and against what was it, Olenek, his last fight, is this enough for Lewis to take a hard step back and say, let me at least get a little bit better on the ground? Let me learn how to defend. Nah. All right, I was in the same boat. At least learn how to defend, Lewis. Like, at least learn that, man. I am just like the last two gentlemen up here. I want Lewis to win. But on paper, that does not look very promising. It's like all of you've said, Blaydes is too quick, too smooth. He doesn't eat a lot of shots. He's very fluid, very slick with punches, takedowns, submissions. The only two outcomes for Blaydes is medical stoppage because of those fucking elbows and a submission. I don't see, unless he can get him to the ground and beat the living fuck out of him for an entire round, that's going to be a hard motherfucker to knock out because he has battled with some of the fucking powerhouses of the UFC. Lewis has battled the knockout gods in the UFC since he's been here. So that chin is tested and it's still fucking holding true. I don't know if Blaydes has enough power to knock out Lewis. Blaydes, I'm calling end of the second, like halfway to the third, either submission or medical stoppage because blood is going to be all over the fucking mat, the ref, Curtis, and Lewis.
I will say this: he definitely did show in the Olynyk fight that if you take him down, he has the potential to get back up sometimes. The hang on, goddamn clips.
I gotta find caveat real quick.
The caveat to that is Curtis Blaydes isn't the guy that just takes you down. For those of you who aren't aware, when they developed the UFC Performance Institute, one of the big promotional things that they used, it's practical, but they used it as a promotional tool, is that they now have sensitive enough and durable enough scientific equipment that they can measure impact force. They've measured impact forces from big punches, from some big kicks, and they brought one individual in specifically to measure the impact force in his power takedown. The individual that they brought in to do that measurement was none other than Curtis Blaydes. There's a good reason for that, and it showed you very much in the results when you got to see the actual smack, because they used one of the big body-sized dummies and had him literally power takedown to the ground. They showed that Curtis Blaydes' takedown hits with the equivalent amount of force of a Ford Fiesta at 40 miles an hour. He produces over 2,500 pounds of force on impact. And that's just the hit. That's not the follow-up. I love me some Dad Body Constrictor, but I bet you every penny I own, he does not produce near that amount of impact force when he puts you down. And Derek has not seen anybody the likes of Curtis Blaydes put him on his ass. I definitely agree. I would love to see a Black Beast win, if nothing else than for the gold that's going to come out of the microphone afterwards. But I also agree that this is Curtis Blaydes' fight to lose, unless he comes out and gets dumb and wants to play phone booth games with Derek Lewis. I don't see this going well for the Black Beast. The good part is that there's no fucking way to be sure about that other than to tune in Saturday night and catch the UFC Fight Night yourself and just see how the shit plays out. That being said, though, that is all we've got for this particular episode. So before we get out of here, I do want to go around and thank these fine folks for being part of the shenanigans that we get up to here and the I'm No Joe podcast. So first and foremost here, I know people are dying to know, what's your facial hair routine now, RJ?
Not a goddamn thing. I'm just playing with it a lot more, kind of like making it look poofy, you know. That's why.
No, your beard.
Yeah, no, yeah. Just making it look poofy. Bastard. You know, like if people really want to know my facial hair regimen, you can find me over there, RJ MMA official. And then I will tell you there as well. I don't do a goddamn thing because I can't grow facial hair. I can grow a mustache and a goatee phenomenally. I'm patchy as fuck. You can call me Joe Dierte and try and church it up in this motherfucker because, man, the sides are patchy as fuck. But thank you for letting me join this week. Like always, great being here. I'm gonna go turn my AC on because my fucking balls is hot. So I'll be back.
Thank you very much, sir. Always glad to have you here, brother. So with that being said, at this point, if someone needs to know how they can get themselves in contention for the coveted purple strap or sign up for the still ongoing Hug Chalathon that we have not given up on yet, how can they get a hold of you after the show, Mr. Fresh03?
YouTube.com/Fresh03. We will be having a charity mix-a-thon at the end of March for Meter's birthday / dogs on deployment. So that sounds like a great time to me. Like RJ, I got to take a shit.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your time, sir. Always appreciate it. And last but most certainly not least, the man who sits across the octagon from myself and puts up with some crazy shit, let me tell you. If at this point somebody needs to know how they can get a hold of a good fried cheese curd and some, I don't know, Kenosha directions to go see themselves a famous feller, how can they get a hold of you after the show, TJ?
Wednesday nights right here on the YouTubes called T-Vapes, and I'm here every Thursday, obviously. And then you hit me up on the Instagrams. And to add to the insanity here, I may as well follow up with where's Ronda Rousey's fine ass at?
I expect no less. Thank you very much for your time as well, sir. Always appreciate that. So, with that being said, we are going to call that all for this particular episode of the I'm No Joe podcast. If you enjoy the shenanigans and shit talking that we get up to around here, give us a thumbs up, subscribe down below, hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing that comes out on this channel. You really love what we do around here, share any of these episodes with a friend. We're trying to grow this damn thing. The other side of that coin, if we're just a couple of dipshits and a young kid masquerading as a 20-something-year-old, talking to a webcam without knowing what we're actually fucking saying, go ahead and give us a thumbs down because we earned it and we won't dispute it. That being said, we are going to call it all for this evening. So until next time, remember, don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything, except if you forget the shaft.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kicks were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening. How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times that made us laugh. I'll wave the band.